Two of the hottest words in e-commerce for 2021 are content and community. And these are the top talking points for good reason. Content keeps customers engaged between purchases, and community is one of those truly defensible moats left in e-com. So today we have MANSCAPED here to talk about building your organic social following. Specifically, we have Tyler Wentworth, Director of Social Media, joining us. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You know, your social content obviously gives off the impression that it's really like thrown together and organic and laid back and humorous, but clearly it isn't. I mean, you guys obviously have a pretty tight strategy across all of these different networks and channels. So how do you make sure that all of this stuff that you're doing lines up to a bigger strategy? Like, how do you guys think about that internally or organizationally? Like, how does social fit, and how do you make sure that it fits within a larger strategy?
For us, it is a bit of scrappiness and being able to have a really deep understanding of the MANSCAPED brand. I think social media managers, more than any other expert on a marketing team for a business or brand, understand the brand more than any other person. Social media teams are the ones responsible for the most external forward-facing communications for a brand, 9 times out of 10. So who better to represent the brand than the social media team? I feel like our team as an organic social media team is most familiar with what's our brand voice, what's our key brand messages. So we're really defining what those are for MANSCAPED. I think MANSCAPED sees itself really as a social first brand. We produce content first and foremost for organic and paid social media. And then we obviously have really robust paid advertising and like influencer marketing initiatives to support that. But when we're thinking about creating content, we're really thinking about it social first. So I, and along with like other experts on the marketing team, I feel like have been able to define what is our branded messaging, our brand tone, who we are as a person, what our mission statement is. So we've been helping define that over the past 2 years or so. So I would say it is a little backwards in the sense of like the content we're creating is defining what those larger brand goals are. Obviously, we have strong business objectives that we like to hit related to like, you know, sales, reach, conversions, all those types of things. But for us, the content we create is really evolving the brand. We regularly test content on social first to see how it resonates before we start filtering out to other paid advertising or the website or things like that.
One thing I want to hit on is like you obviously have integrated yourself into the content, into the story that you're putting out there. Do you see that as something that is important for brands to be doing, like picking someone from the brand to put into the story? Because I see a lot of brands out there talking about, oh, if we're going to do TikTok, like we're just going to rely on like our influencer network, or we're just going to rely on this. And like, they're not necessarily thinking about like putting themselves into it. Is there a benefit to putting yourself in it?
If you would have asked me that like 2 years ago, I would have said like, no, like I don't see why social media like teams or marketing teams need to put themselves in front of the camera. I think they could rely on, yeah, like you said, earned content, UGC, influencer content. But given the push towards short-term video, and given the push towards, video content that has a really short shelf life, and given the push towards Gen Z not wanting to engage with overproduced brand content, I think the most apparent evolution of social is that people are going to have to get in front of the camera to represent their brands and come across as a real human who represents this brand. So many of our Gen Z enthusiasts now call me like Mr. Manscaped, or they think I'm the CEO of Manscaped, which I'm very much not the CEO of Manscaped. So, but they see me as like this human manifestation of a brand, and that's what's driven engagement for us. It wasn't until the pandemic and it was me constantly publishing content, that was when we started to see success. That's when we started to see 50% of our organic social revenue being driven by TikTok. So that for us has been the key win. And now we're integrating more team members outside of just myself, obviously. Getting more team members comfortable producing content. We are pretty much becoming like our best content creators. Like we are becoming influencers for Manscaped, even though we are Manscaped employees, but we are like the personalities behind the brand that is engaging with this new wave of, Gen Z young millennial customers who are looking for authentic relationships with brands. And it's been really effective for us. So I would challenge any social media manager that's kind of struggling with what to jump on, what to jump on with TikTok, or how to start a TikTok presence, or any kind of like short form, nimble content, to just feel comfortable jumping in front of the camera and giving yourself that autonomy, or talking to your leadership team about like, if you trust my vision and you trust that I know what's best to drive our social media forward, you'll trust me to like jump in front of the camera and produce this content that I know is going to engage with people. Because like I mentioned, I feel like social media managers, more than anyone else on the marketing team, understand a brand and the brand voice. So I think it's the next evolution of social that you're going to see a lot more social media managers jumping in front of the camera on behalf of their brand.
I love that. Not just like I've seen a lot of people build communities like that around like, oh, when you've made 5 purchases, you get added into this, but just having like different ways to kind of filter the fandom of it all. Like those quizzes are a fantastic way to filter out the people who are going to be super engaged once they get in there, because curating that community and making sure that it is the fans that are in there, like that's super important in putting a group together like that. And we talked a bit now about what and where, but I'm also really interested in the why. Like, what would you say is the main goal of organic social efforts? Because I feel like a lot of companies really struggle with tying this to something other than kind of views.
I mean, our organic social presence really hits every area of the funnel for us. I think there's channels like TikTok and YouTube where people are usually being introduced to us as a brand. TikTok is, for a lot of Gen Z, their first introduction to Manscaped. We were historically a very millennial male focused brand, or even like a little older than millennial. So Gen Z's first introduction to Manscaped, as far as like brand awareness, has pretty much been TikTok, and then just other influencer and digital display advertising. But things like the ballers for us are really like customer loyalty, customer retention. And then channels like Instagram for us have historically been able to drive a lot of conversion through swipe ups, through Instagram shopping, things like that. So it's hitting every area of the funnel for us. Organic social, I think my biggest KPIs are really related to like reach and scale, and making sure that as many people know about Manscaped as possible, because there's other aspects of our marketing efforts like podcast sponsorship, influencer, creator sponsors, paid media, sports partnerships that are kind of more honed in on specific, conversion goals or awareness goals, things like that. But yeah, organic social is hitting every point in the funnel for us. And I think for me, I'm really just trying to personify and elevate the brand to a point where the majority of men know about Manscaped.
If I was going to summarize everything we talked about here today, Tyler, it would be know your platform. So whether it's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, they all have like a certain flavor, a certain feel that's a bit different. So make sure you're tailoring your content to the platform. Feedback from your community and actually building that community through social. And social ends up being the voice. So the people who are on your social team, they're going to be the closest to the customer. So they're going to be able to communicate that brand voice probably better than anyone else on your team. It's easier to go viral with things in the early days. So early TikTok, early Reels, like you're giving yourself a better chance to go viral there. And not everything needs to be scalable. I think we've hit on that quite a few times in here. Like there's certain things you can do that are going to have a big impact that you're not going to be able to do at a huge scale or all the time. And be human. Being able to introduce like someone from your brand into the content seems like there's a lot of benefits to that. So before we let you go, Tyler, is there any place where people listening to this can connect with you? Obviously, like follow you on TikTok, but anywhere else, LinkedIn, Twitter, a blog?
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. I'm a huge LinkedIn advocate. I love sharing little behind the scenes of our social media strategy on LinkedIn. So add me on LinkedIn, Tyler Wentworth. I work at Manscaped. Should pop up pretty early. I also am starting to connect with people on Clubhouse. So if you're on Clubhouse, I think my handle on there is just Tyler Wentworth. And yeah, follow Manscaped on any social media platform. We'll be on them all at Manscaped. So thanks so much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
You are welcome. And we'll make sure all of those handles get to the show notes for you guys as well. Tyler, this was fantastic, super informative. Thank you so much.